I was actually born in Hamilton, and but the family was from Rotorua, and Dad was just happened to be working in Hamilton when I was born, so I was there for a little while. And yeah, that's where I learned to swim. My father took me out swimming and in the Waikato River, and then he dived and left me in the deep water, struggling to get back to shore. So yeah, I ran away a lot as a little boy, 2-year-old boy. All the bus drivers used to know me, all the train drivers and all the police. And they would find me and, oh, it's the Bennett kid again. So they had to take me home. My mother eventually got so frustrated with me that in those days you had a long clotheslines. You had a post at one end and a post at the other end and wires between. So she got a, what did I have? Oh no, it was around the waist, that's right. And the rope went around my waist and tied around this thing, but it could run up and down there, so I could run up and down the length of the backyard, but I couldn't get out. I remember that. So yeah, and my sisters, Nairi and Leslie, my two darling, darling sisters, hated me because they were then teenagers, right? So they're wandering after, they're looking for boys, and boys are looking for them because they were both beautiful girls. But Mum and Dad said, "You got to look after that kid," and they hated me for that, didn't they? So it took me a long time to get over that. We were living in Peace Grove Road in Hamilton, and directly across, not directly, but just across the road from our place was the school. So we used to walk up there, school and back. So it was only early stages, you know, it was early stages. So that was that, and I wasn't not a very good student as a young student. But as I got older, I got an even worse student. So, yeah, that was, yeah, youth was, it was a bit uncomfortable in many respects, I found, for me, you know. Got back to Rotorua, and my mother and father split, unfortunately for me. And my dad took me to Australia, so I went from there to Australia and did a lot more schooling in Australia, in Brisbane. Yeah, and loved it, I gotta say, I loved it. I loved Australia. And my friend, I had a friend of mine called Garth Trurier. I probably mentioned Garth to you from time to time, but he turned up one day at my place when we were both about 14 or 15, 14, something like that. And he had a guitar with him. And it was a sort of guitar, a bit like this. It had a cutaway, but it didn't have the round hole in the middle. It had F-holes, you know, like that. And I don't think I've ever seen anything as beautiful in my life as that guitar. So they got me started on guitar playing and gave me a career for 60 years. So I can't complain. Garth was Aboriginal and unusual for those days, but he was a fantastic singer, absolutely fantastic. We entered a lot of talent quests in Brisbane. Won every one of them that we entered. Garth did. I mean, I just played guitar for him. I was a better guitar player than he was. So that was us. It was just such a lot of fun. I can't imagine any teenagers having a better teenage life than Garth and I had. It was just fantastic. I'd love to do it again. So we had that, and in that time that we were doing time quests and things, the Maori troubadours came to town, and I knew I had met Tui because my dad, who spoke fluent Maori, met him in South Coast, in the, yeah. And so when I saw him in Brisbane that time, he said, "Do you fellas want to join the band?" Because Garth looked enough like a Maori to be a Maori. I was more Pākehā than he was. So we did. And then we toured around Australia for a bit, and Brisbane and that. Having the time of our lives. It was fabulous. Tui was fantastic. Tui Teka was about 21 then. He was only a young fella. The band was fantastic. Yeah, I got a lot of good experience out of that band. The other band members were Paul Bennett, Posey Titana, Robbie Ropata, and Podge. I can't remember Podge's surname. But a hell of a lot of fun, because we used to do the side shows, and there was a big sort of stage, and we get out on stage, play a couple of songs, and then Tui would come out, and Tui looked the part, big guy, sang beautifully, and funny, just a really funny guy. The crowds loved him. We were opposite, in the showgrounds of the different cities. We were on this particular case, we were opposite Slim Dusty, who was very popular. And so Tui fixed him. He said every time Slim Dusty would sit up to promote the show, Tui would get us out onto the middle of the walkway and do a haka. And of course they'd all come trooping over into our tent after that. It was just great. So and then we did a tour of New Zealand, but Garth stayed in Australia, and we came back to, I think it was Wellington was the first one, and we did a tour of New Zealand. Very successful shows. When we got to, except when we got to Rotorua, because the place was chock-a-block with Maoris, and nobody had ever seen anything like that before in their lives. This was back in early 60s. And they'd never seen anything as slick as what these Maori high fives. Oh, hell no, I'm getting mixed up. Our show went well, that's right. Yeah. After Rotorua, Dad took me into staying in New Zealand. He had remarried by that time, and my stepmother's name was Gladys, who was a lovely girl. And yeah, I was happy to stay here. Then I got various jobs here and there, and wound up working as a singer in pubs and clubs and things like that. Yeah, it was really, really enjoyable. I knew that's all I ever wanted to do was just sing, you know, and it was good. So I came up to Auckland, got a job with the Trio Samos. You remember them? Trio Samos were fantastic. They were really good musicians. They needed a guitar player, so I was the guitarist for them. And then I got a message from Higgins. Yeah, from I can't remember their names. Elaine Higgin, and Lou Clausen of Lou and Simon was looking for a guitar player because Lou and Simon had just broken up. And would I be interested in playing guitar for Lou? I said, yeah. And I was married at the time. I got married a couple of years before, about 3 or 4 years before, which was not a happy experience for me, I must say. But we had a couple of kids, and it was just lovely, Andy and Samantha. So when Elaine asked me if I wanted to play guitar for Lou, I said I'd love to. And I got an ultimatum from the ex saying, if you go with Lou Clausen, we're through. I said, was it so? I picked up my bag and walked out. And that was that. That was that. Thank goodness for that. So I've got to thank Lou for that. And I met Lou and got to know him, and in later years, Lou Clawson became the leader, the founder. That's right, the founder of the Variety Artists Club in New Zealand until he died. Really, so it was lovely. So I had a few years with Lou playing guitar for him, and that was a great introduction to the industry, music industry in New Zealand. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. But we did a lot of shows. You do 5 shows a night, running from place to place to place to place. It was fantastic. After I left Lou, I started working as a soloist in pubs, and just with guitar and sitting on a stool and crooning away for hours. Enjoyed that immensely. Just really, really loved that. I think the first gig I had as a soloist was, it was downtown Auckland, and I just can't remember the name of the pub. It's now the something else. But it was a really good experience to be able to look out and see the ocean, and people would be sitting there just coming all day long. You know, it was just fantastic. I was there about 4 hours, and stayed there for a long time. Stayed there as a kind of a resident musician for a while, and but that got my yearning for really doing this business more and more, you know. So I went to other pubs. I went to a pub out at Otahu. It was called the Star Hotel, which was a bit rough, and that was a bit of fun. And we're still in the 60s, mind you. Other pubs, gosh, there was such a lot, and the Lion, was it the Lions Club? The Lion pub circuit, and I got in that, and that was a hell of a lot of fun. We went around the whole country, pubs all over Auckland, all up north, down south, and can't remember the names of the pubs now, but there was a lot, and the pub circuit was a prolific time for musos, so we did very well. When I think about it, I remember doing some cabaret, which was getting up for about an hour and doing a few songs and a few jokes and taking the money and going home, you know. Toby Jug was one of those places. Peter Pan was another one of those places. I can't remember the name of the one that was down on the waterfront. And anyway, there was a lot of cabaret places, yeah, so there were a lot of those sort of things, and I got involved in the cabaret circuit for a while, and again I found it tremendously rewarding. Yeah, and then later on, as times did get a bit tough, the cabaret started to drop off for a little while, and I spent a lot of time with my friend Dave Cowell, and David and I did a lot of work together, you know, just good fun together, different places, but we'd sometimes work together. David do it and I do it. It was good fun. And then, but when they started to get a bit slack, when the cabaret started, it was when drink driving came in, and suddenly all the cabarets started to drop off, and they just, they just started to drop off. So that's when I found this singing on a stool with a guitar in the pubs, and it was just fantastic. And that went on for years and years. Had a residency at the Potter's Wheel for about 10 years. Had a residency at the Inner Circle for about 10 years. Had a residency at the Birdcage. I was there for about 10 years, run by a friend of mine called Richard Lancaster, and just everywhere we went, he got me. I just loved it. could have been better. And Richard passed away some time ago, unfortunately. He was a lovely man. I went to, at the Potter's Wheel, while I was at the Potter's Wheel, there was a married couple who looked after the managers, were Mr. and Mrs. Crowe, the mother and father of Russell Crowe, who was about 9 or 10 at the time. And he used to come up and play, used to watch us play, and we'd get him to play a bit of guitar and stuff like that. Not that he could play the guitar, but he just loved being involved. And he really loved Dave Cowell. He thought Dave was fantastic. So yeah, so I met Russell that way. I remember the time I got gigs at the Big Fresh, which was a vegetable market sort of thing, you know, pretty good. And they'd get some music, and they'd put us up on top of a platform above, I don't know, the baked beans or something. And we'd set the keep rocking, we'd just croon away there for 3 or 4 hours. That went on for a long time, for many, many years. And it was just enjoyable. Kip Tapuna was one of the beautiful performers who played up there. He was a lovely singer, lovely guitar player. Manuel Gomez, who basically was involved with Kip, showing him a few tricks on the guitar, because Manuel was superb. Absolutely beautiful voice, beautiful guitar player. And so the 3 of us, along with other people, performed in the Big Fresh for a long time. That was good fun. I became involved with the Baha'i faith about 1974. I had a friend of mine, you know him, friend of mine, Bryce. He was a songwriter, a good songwriter, but he was a bit of a bit on the edges of the law a lot of the time. Anyway, we've got to be good mates. And he came, him and Barry Crump came to where Bryce was staying, and they talked about this faith called the Baha'i faith, and I thought, no, there's the last person I thought on earth would get, you know, the belief in God was Bryce. So yeah, I tickled my fancy, and I got started to ask a few questions and go to a few other places and talk about the Baha'i faith and what it stood for. And the more I learned about the Baha'i faith, the more I came to understand what it was, the better I liked it. And I was coming back from Dunedin after doing a gig down there, and it was about 30,000 feet. 33,000 feet in the 737, and it was just lovely. And then I realized, I was reading something about Baha'i faith in the plane, and it struck me that I totally got this. And from that moment forward, I was confirmed as a member of the Baha'i faith. And that was 50 years ago. 50 years ago. And I've had probably, I suppose I could say, the happiest time of my life concerned with the Baha'i faith. And I'm happy to do that for the rest of my life. The purpose is, of course, is to unite mankind so that we can get together and get along with each other and stop all this warring and all this fighting and all this nonsense that goes on. So I'm happy. As part of my singing, I got a job in the Cook Islands. So I went across as a Baha'i ambassador, I suppose, because there was a number of Baha'is in the Cook Islands. And when I got to the Cooks, it felt like home to me. It really felt like home. It was very, very warm and very loving. And so, and I stayed there for 3 months. And I went back every year from that time to perform in Cook Islands, doing Baha'i concerts and other concerts as well. And the other thing was that I did a lot of schools that were up there. One of them was called Tiukiawa. It was a well-known school, it was a private school. And the curriculum was involved in what we were talking about before, the virtues. And they teach the virtues in the school. And that really got me, because that school had fantastic courtesy, fantastic kindness, fantastic, really good things. They would learn a virtue each week. One week it would be kindness. So they have to behave with kindness to all their friends, their mother and father, and all their mates and the teachers and all that. And the teachers the same. And then, so that was, I thought that was a fantastic thing. I get back to New Zealand and I find there's about a number of schools that are involved with the virtues. They're all teaching the virtues. So I thought, ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Because it just brings a beautiful feeling to be with other people. You know, it's just lovely. Mm. My family, I was married to Josephine. Josephine and I had 2 children, and then we got divorced. And then I got remarried a few years later, and I married Ingrid for a while, and we had another daughter. So my 3 children, Samantha, Andrew, and Amanda, are all from those 2 marriages. And it's just that, oh gosh, I can't say no. My son, Andrew, is looking after me at the moment, so I love him dearly. He's a beautiful, beautiful kid. My daughter Samantha is a lovely girl. She just moved down to New Plymouth, so she's away. She's had 2 children. She's got 2 kids, so there's 2 of the grandkids. One of her children, children has 2 kids, so she's got 2 grandchildren, and I've got 2 great-grandchildren. Pretty cool. Amanda hasn't had any children. She hasn't got married. Andrew's got himself a girlfriend called Liana, who's a lovely girl, and they're going to get married soon. Amanda's going to get married to her boyfriend, fiance, soon. So it's all go in the Bennett family as far as getting married goes. Well, I'm not going to get married again. So that's the family. And yeah, we're just happy together. It's just lovely. Now we're in 2024. It's been, about 4 or 5 years ago, I got this sickness from diabetes, which is called neuropathy, which is nerve damage. And nerve damage is simply the nerve, which is covered in some kind of casing. And the casing comes off. That's what the damage is. So I can't control my nerves in my feet, or my knees, or my legs, or my hands, or my vocal cords. So I can't sing or play the guitar as I used to. So it's a life of retirement for me at this moment. But it's been a really good year because Andrew's looking after me. He's my caregiver. What else? I tell you, he's a beautiful caregiver. He runs me around if I need to. But now that I've got myself settled, now that we've found a proper place to stay, my other friends who've got cars come around and pick me up, and I go out with them a lot. A heck of a lot of Baha'i stuff happening at the moment. Tonight, Wednesday night, we've got a Waiata group downstairs, which is part of the Kainga Order organisation. So that's part of it. It's been a very happy year, I gotta say. It's been a very happy year. The first 2 or 3 years were a bit, getting used to not being able to use my feet properly, not being able to drive a car. That was the first thing that happened. I had a crash in the car, smashed my beautiful Ovation guitar, and not this one, but this has replaced it. And so it's been a bit of a struggle physically, I think. I suppose it's fair to say that. But if that's as bad as it gets, I'm happy. Looking back over the years, and my music years in particular, I've won a couple of awards. I won a scroll. I think the first one I won was a music scroll from the Variety Artists Club. I was one of the early members of the Variety Club, and then later on I got another award, which was a Golden Microphone Award, and I don't know what happened to the Golden Microphone, because it disappeared sometime later. So so it was just very, and then of course there's this award, which was designed by Mr. John Zalando, God bless his soul. Beautiful. It's a fantastic design, I gotta say. And that was a big moment. I think that was probably the greatest moment of my singing life. Getting this little man. And so now that stays with me. My daughter wants it when I die. So I said to her, well, I'm just not going to die. But so it's been a very fortunate sort of musical life for me. I've been very, very happy. But I've just been a worker. You know, I've been as a singer. I've been a worker because that's what I wanted to do. So I was taking gigs, and I worked. I forgot to mention that I was at. I did schools a lot with Bryce Peterson, years ago when Bryce and I were kicking around. We did schools. We had a little act, because Bryce wrote children's songs. Evilly Evil was one of them. In case you don't know me, I'm terribly, terribly evil. And he did some really funny songs, some good stuff. So that was very successful in the sense of musicality, because it was lovely music, because Bryce was a good songwriter. And I'd sing a few songs as well, but we did that for about 20 years. Didn't get paid, we just did it because we loved it. And then after that, that was just back in the business as usual. After that, and we just stopped doing them for some reason or other. And then I got a job here in Auckland, playing for what were they? Injured people, injured adults and children. And I'm just trying to think of the name of it. Anyway, I was there for 12 years as a muser. It was just lovely. I got a gig in later years, probably in the 20s, early 20s, playing for a guy called forgotten his name. Anyway, he was Italian, and the restaurant that he owned, or he was managing, was called the Santa Lucia in Mission Bay. And I used to sit in a stool in this restaurant, where it was fantastic work, and sometimes nobody would take a blind bit of notice. That didn't worry me at all. I just loved playing music, and I was there for about 12 years, a long time. And so was Manuel. Manuel was doing some work there. So was Kip Tapuna. He was doing some work there. And Kip and I did a lot of work there together as a duo in the restaurant in Santa Lucia. So that was quite an experience. We were there when the tsunamis hit Japan, when they had that eruption, and those tsunamis went and wiped out couple of towns on the thing, yeah. So I remember seeing it on the news, on the TV in the corner, as I was playing. Watched it and I thought, oh, stopped playing and just looked at it. Really had my attention. There was a friend of mine, we became best friends. His name was David Cowell. And David was a great singer, terrible guitar player, absolutely. He could play the guitar, or he could play the chords that he thought would fit the song, and that'd do the job. But he used to play the guitar so hard that he would always break strings when he played. And while he was playing, he'd have a couple of broken strings. So he'd get one of his mates out of the audience to put a new string on the guitar while he's playing. And he would tighten it up and he'd be singing away and still playing. Now I remember that of David. He was a great performer. He was a natural performer, one of those people who, no side, no nothing. He was just bingo. Dave Cowell, fantastic. When I was first kicked off in the business getting the guitar, I was very taken by Trini Lopez. I thought Trini Lopez was fabulous. And that's where I learned to change keys on the guitar, because he did that a lot. I thought, oh, that sounds good, so I tried it out and did it for the rest of my life. But Trini Lopez was fantastic, and Trini was found by Frank Sinatra. Another one was Nat King Cole. I love Nat King Cole. Brooke Benton was another singer that I absolutely adored. I loved all those people. Sarah Vaughan was magic. Ella Fitzgerald was magic, beautiful voice. Ella Fitzgerald had a beautiful voice. I was talking to a friend of mine once called Ross Garcia, and Ross is a musical arranger, American. He's dead now. He was well known in the United States because he wrote a book on arranging, how to arrange music, and he became the Bible for most musicians in America. They followed Russ's guidance, and I can't remember where I was going with that now. Anyway, Russell was a lovely man. I spent a lot of time with him. We did a few concerts with him. In the late 50s or early 60s, I went to a show. I was only a young fella, I was only a teenager, and I went to a show in Brisbane. The lead singer, there was about 3 or 4 singers that come from America and a band. And the lead singer was Little Richard. Absolutely floored me. He floored me. And the other guy was an Australian guy. One of the other guys was an Australian fella whose name I can't remember at the moment. He was called the Wild One in Australia. You remember? I can't remember who it was, but anyway. He was more popular than Little Richard. So he was I mean, there's really great music kicking around at that time. And then I loved Elvis Presley. I loved all that rock and roll stuff. I loved to bits. Jerry Lee Lewis and all those people, and Little Richard, of course. Who else? There was a girl called see, this is the problem with getting old. My memory starts to fade. Can't remember. Anyway, it don't matter. But I loved all those singers because they were all fresh. They were all absolutely fresh. Elvis was fantastic. And there was a guy came to New Zealand called Lovelace.
Watkins.
Lovelace Watkins, that's right. And I was really taken with him. He was fantastic. A voice to die for. He was just fantastic. I loved John Rolls. I thought John Rolls was a fantastic singer. Kiwi singers abounded. There was just heaps of them. You know, Dennis Marsh is still kicking around, and the Greaves family were all performers, just about. And Kevin Greaves, of course, was outstanding. So I think the music industry in New Zealand has been terrific. It's been terrific. So, and we've got a girl called Dinah Lee, who's a fantastic singer, and has been for centuries, it seems. So, yeah, I love New Zealand. But what the future holds for me musically, I don't know. I'm just going to keep trying. I know that nerves are damaged and that, and I can't play it like I used to, but I can still make a noise. I can still make a bit of a noise. So I'll be doing as much of that as I can. But more than that, I'll be working for the Baha'i faith. I'll be doing as much as I possibly can to establish the Baha'i faith amongst mankind. Because the purpose of the Baha'i faith is to unite. And I saw the protest that just went down to Wellington over the Tiriti, and saw thousands of united Maoris as an example. And I thought, fantastic. So the government doesn't know what they've done. So I was really pleased about that, because if there's an image, if we got an image of how unity looks like, and we know what it looks like as a group of people, then we've got something to look forward to. We've got some way to be with each other, so that we speak kindly, we speak with beautiful words, and you know, we start to gain a pure love, divine love for each other, rather than just the backbiting that goes on and all the other stuff that happens amongst people. And it's been that way for a long time. So, and here we are at 2024, on the edge of another global, you know, war. So our task is we've got to try to stop that somehow. We've got to get to enough people and behave in a way with each other that says this is what unity looks like. We can say our piece together without being aggressive, without being anything other than kind to each other. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life until I die. Tira noa he kai tango o ngā he mana wātanga I tua atu I te atua. Whakahuatia kia whakanui tia te atua. Ko te katoa a te atua. Ko ia ake. Ana pono a e no ana te katoa I te mea nana I whakaaro. Is there any removal of difficulties? Save God. Say praise to be God. He is God. All are his servants and all abide by his bidding. That's what that is.